So my first question to the panelists is, what made you choose Dell coming fresh out of college? We can start wherever. Yeah.
I'll go first. So essentially, I did 2 internships with Dell. I did an internship in finance, and then I did an internship within the BOLD program. And essentially, both these times I came here, I had so much learning experience. When I got back to college, my GPA for the semester went up to like a 3.8 both years in a row. So I was in an environment where I was continuously learning. And when I got back to being in school, it was a walk in the park. So that's what chose me to come here and choose this place right after I finished up.
For me, similar to Leon's experience, I did 2 summer internships as well. And there was a specific internship program that was started. Leon and I, and ROSLYN actually, we started with a company that was EMC, that later on merged with Dell. And EMC at the time had an HBCU internship program. So it was a big push, and we were given mentors, workshops during the summer. So you were very empowered, and you saw that active investment in your success. And fast forward to today, Dell is doing that on an even larger scale. So definitely that was probably the #1 reason for me to join.
When I was a junior, I worked at NASA for an internship, and I did radiation research, but my background was computer engineering. So when I heard, hey, there's this tech company that wants to, give you an opportunity, I was like, hey, it was in business analysis, but I thought, it's a tech company and I can make my way. So I just took the chance and went to Massachusetts, and I loved it.
Yeah, for me, the decision was very different. I had a 3-year-old son at the time, so I was looking for something that provided the flexibility, that was challenging. Personally, I was from North Carolina, so wanted to stay in the States, in that state, but then, came up to the recruiter, and he told me everything I wanted to hear. And everyone at the business school was going to New York or the Silicon Valley, all the super high, spots that people love to go to because they're highly visible. But I wanted something in corporate finance because it did allow that flexibility. So whenever I heard about it, it encompassed everything I wanted to hear from a company recruiter. So it, totally gave me what I was looking for.
Right. And so I'm sure most in the room, the undergrads, are really curious, what has your experience been like at Dell as an African American or a Latina?
I'll go first. Okay. So it's been great. So I, like I said, I'm in the internal audit group. I got hired into the finance development program, which is a 2-year, 4-rotation program for undergrads. And after that, went full-time into our internal audit group, and actually recently just moved out of the internal audit group into pricing. But as an African American, I found it very, very, not easy, but definitely I felt that I was equipped with the network and the tools to navigate a corporate environment such as Dell because of the access I had to all the leaders, to managers. And it's definitely been something where, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have that kind of village and people to lean on. So for me, it's definitely been great. I've done international roles. I could share a little bit about that with some of you guys after the panel, but I lived overseas in Singapore for 6 months. I met Kevin Brown, actually. Kevin Brown walked over to me. He was doing an all hands out there, so it's been awesome.
All in all, the same for me as well. I think it was more so coming in right after. Rico went to Morehouse. He graduated a year before me, so he was actually here opening up a lot of doors in regards to coming fresh out of Morehouse. So me coming behind him, he helped lay the groundwork of saying, hey, yes, we're in Massachusetts right now, but we have a lot of great people around us, and we can actually build what it is that we want. So our executives come in and all our chief diversity officer, they're highly involved in this idea of what it means to have a diverse and inclusive environment. So they give us the platform to step up and say, tell me your vision. What do you want to see here? You get out, you tell us who needs to be in this environment. You go do the recruiting. You step up, you tell us what the brand needs to be in this area. Even when we was interning, they equipped us and put us in a position to go out on our individual campuses and advocate for Dell Technologies in a way in which it would make us come alive as an individual, but also show what it truly means to represent the company, but also represent who you are.
Alon?
You can go ahead.
I want to build off what Leon said because here at Dell, I've been able to form an Alpha at Dell group, and essentially Alpha is Association of Latino Professionals for America. So it's our first Alpha corporate organization, and it's been great because we've been able to build this group of individuals who are focused on Latino recruitment. And we go on campus and we go and tell them, yes, like at Dell, we are trying to recruit you as a Latino. And of course, you know, African Americans as well. So we are able to make a difference for what we care for. And that's what has given me an area to focus on and something I'm passionate about because I'm able to share with individuals who share my same background the greatness of Dell and how I've been able to make a difference and find my own spot here.
For me, I think being Black at Dell has been very welcoming, especially on my team, because me being the introverted, quiet person that I am, they push me to express myself. They push me to bring my individual self, like being the only Black person on my team, basically almost in the organization where I am in Massachusetts. It's very limited number of us, but they push me to bring my individuality, and that's a part of Dell that I do appreciate the most.
Absolutely agree. I've been at Dell about 8 years, and so it has been really, really wonderful to see us walk the talk of what we want to do and how we want to continue our initiatives in diversity and inclusion. It's been absolutely wonderful, absolutely. And so as far as that, touching on sometimes being the only Black or brown person on your team in a space, how have you navigated the culture here at Dell, sometimes being the only one on your team?
I would say getting out of my comfort zone. I don't like to talk, so doing things like this, talking to you guys is hard for me, but I'm doing it anyway. I've been on several panels before, and I feel like I'm getting better as I go along, so that's one of the things I would say, like if you don't like it, I feel like that's a reoccurring theme here, like push yourself to do things that you wouldn't normally do so you can improve those skills, so.
Yeah, I'd add on to say, when you do kind of feel like you're the only person in the room, you know, there are things, there are like, I'm pretty sure all of you heard about our ERGs, right? The employee resource groups, right? That is a whole network of professionals with a similar background to yourself, or even Latino connection as well, right? That you can tap into and find those professionals, the people that have had that similar experience to you, maybe not functionally, maybe not in your day-to-day job, but can definitely help you with navigating that. And I found that to be extremely helpful, right? When you have that person that you can call on. I've done it a couple times where they can just give you that coaching, right, and say, hey, take a step back, or, right, this is what you should do. And I'd say, similar to like what ROSLYN was saying, get out of your comfort zone. Don't silo yourself in to just that network within your day-to-day. Get involved, meet a lot more people.
To add on to that, also, sometimes you have to take a step back and say, yes, I might be the only person that looks like me in the room, but there might also be other people in the room that might be the only person that looks like them in the room. Like diversity is not also just about, you know, like skin color or whatnot, but also in regards to diversity of thought. And it's always normally, like Dell has been having a very big push lately on diversity. So you might be the only Black person in the room, but it might be Asian people in the room, you know, or essentially, but also understand like why you are in the room. Like you're in the room, you know, to come there to add value. So long as you're in that room and you focusing on, you know, doing what it is, handling your responsibilities, adding value, and executing, that's what really matters. You in a room by yourself, but you earned that spot to be in a room. So long as you came in that room and you assumed that responsibility, you should take pride within that and utilize that as your fuel to shine while you're in that space.
Yeah, it's like you have an opportunity to make that your platform, not to allow it to intimidate you and hold you back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And bring people along that are just like you as well to join that team. You know, if you're the only one in that group or area, you want to bring people along that are like you and lift them up and guide them if they're looking to get in that same area as well. You know, and going back to the ERGs, you know, that's a place of comfort. You're meeting people that have a similar background as you. So, you know, being out of your comfort zone by being the only, you know, Black or Latina on your team, you know, it's okay. It's your chance to shine, like Leon was saying, and to even share your background, your culture, educate others about you and your background and where you came from. You know, why you are the way you are, why are you passionate about certain things. You know, it's your chance to shine and embrace it.
Now, did any of you guys have mentors?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
you did. Okay, wonderful. We do have a mentorship program. Just wanted to make sure. So did you go formally through the mentorship program? Were your mentors informally? And how did that relationship help you in your career at Dell?
I'll go.
Yeah.
So I've had mentors informally and formally. Women of color, men of color, Enrico and Leon are knowledgeable about those two programs that we have at Dell, and they are to help promote not just Black people, not just Latinas, but just all people of color. And we have programs that promote diversity. We help retain our people. We help recruit our people, and those programs, we have a mentoring circle where we do have access to vice presidents, senior vice presidents that will provide us with that mentorship that we need, that we ask for. So I think that's been really beneficial, as well as informal ones. Like on my team, I have a more senior person that's more technically knowledgeable, but she'll help me with different things that I need within the organization, and I really do appreciate her help there.
Yeah, I've had formal and informal mentors as well, right? So one through the HBCU program, right, where I was paired up with a mentor in the BNA and the ERG, as well as out of talent acquisition. And this was all while I was in Hopkinton at EMC, right? This is in Massachusetts. And then when I relocated here, just a year ago, I actually had a mentor that I met informally, and she was working in the same department in me, and tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, you know, she's a woman of color, a director, and she took me under her wing and helped me navigate internal audit and introduced me to even more professionals of color in finance. And one of them is actually here today, Preston, who's in the back. I meet with Preston on a monthly basis, right? And Preston is a VP of finance in our consumer solutions group. So, right, having just, you know, director, executive level, right? That's something that happened kind of informally, right? It wasn't set up through any kind of rotation program or anything, but both channels for sure.
Yeah, the same similar situation with Enrico. I went through and had the formal through the ERGs or whatnot, but also informal through literally like I was in the cafeteria, and my mentor today came up to me because I was sitting by myself. And it was probably like my first week here in Round Rock, Texas. So I was kind of new, I didn't know anyone. And she walked up to me, introduced herself, and I've been meeting with her on and off for the quarterly since I've been here as well. So that's the best part about Dell. Our executives are super open, and so they will walk up to you before you walk up to them sometimes. And they say, hey, how are you doing? They introduce themselves, and you won't even know that they're an executive the way that they will stop everything they're doing just to have a conversation with you. And that has been consistent throughout my entire time at Dell. So all of our executives, and even just senior leadership in general, everyone that I meet here is normally open to meet with you, long as you're open to be as welcoming as well, and also be open to learn. I think that's one of the biggest things that you need here at Dell, is that willingness to learn and be open for guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah, going along those lines, when you meet with a mentor, you want to come with an agenda and a good, set of questions or topics that you want to cover, make it worth their time and show that you're interested in what they have to offer. You can have mentors that are your colleagues or executives, and so especially when it gets to the executive level, you want to come with that agenda. That way, the mentorship relationship grows genuinely, and that executive wants to continue meeting with you.
Yeah.
So I have also informal and formal mentorships that were created, and I've noticed that the good side of the formal ones are that they get you out of your comfort zone. For me, in my case, I was paired with someone randomly, and we kind of knew of each other, but not really each other, but we gave it a chance, and we didn't share any common background. So it's a good way to learn of each other's backgrounds, and be able to learn, their experiences, where they're coming from. So it's a good, aspect of those formal mentorships that you're assigned. And then the informal ones, you tend to gravitate towards people that are just like you, share your same background. So it's more of an easier way to share your challenges as a Black or brown person.
I agree. And I think another thing to keep in mind too, for me, mentorship has always been about addressing a gap that I have. Not a mentor that's at my level, but someone 2-3 levels above me that is going to stretch you in those areas that you're weaker in, so that you can continue to grow and go to that next level, bringing the agendas, bringing questions, maybe even having a mentor completely outside of your line of business, which from a business perspective gives you a lot more understanding of how things work and allows you to be able to communicate clearly how things work, which your understanding helps in your career development as well. Now, I do want to ask, how have you guys felt? Do you feel like you can bring your full self to work?
I think I can. I mean, you want to be your authentic self. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you stand out. So if you feel like you can't, you're in the wrong place. And bringing your authentic self, being yourself in the workplace is what makes you you, and what makes you memorable against other people. If you're not yourself, if you're this persona that you think you should be in the workplace, people don't really get to know you, and they don't feel like they can confide in you, make the small conversation. So you want to be approachable, and the easiest way of doing that is by being your authentic self.
On that note, I look at things in regards to who do I want to be in certain environments. So we all always hear this thing about duality and code switching and whatnot.
Absolutely.
This is a conversation about branding, essentially. If I'm in the office, I have to ask myself, who do I want people to see me as in this environment? So yes, the person that I envision myself to be in this environment, yes, I'm always being that authentic version of who I am. So if you're going to be in any environment, make sure that you're actually becoming and representing that person that you envision yourself to be in that environment. And Dell definitely embodies that and give us the space to do that. Yeah. Whoever you want to be, we have these things called, throughout our entire company, called individual development plans. And you put these plans together, and it talks about, this is my plan for the next year, next few months, next 3 to 5 years or whatnot. And I always utilize this document to go in and meet with my manager, my director, or even the VP, and say, hey, this is the person I am now. This is the person I aspire to be. Let's figure out how I can get from here to there. And you do that with the mindset of who I'm trying to become, but you utilize these conversations to show people this is me all the way out. So I don't think that if you're in any environment that doesn't allow you to grow from where you are to where you want to be, then you shouldn't be in that environment.
Yeah, and I'd agree. And I would say I can bring my authentic self, because who I am and what I'm passionate about, didn't have anything to do with technology. It really had to do with mentorship, right? The reason why I got to Dell and I went to Morehouse, so we learned a lot about that at Morehouse, right? How important it is to lift as you climb. And Dell has definitely enabled me to do that.
Yeah.
And it's never a challenge, right? I can talk about being involved in ERGs and doing all these extra things with my manager, and I'm encouraged to go do so.
Yes.
And on top of that, systematically, Dell will ask you, what other things are you doing outside of your day-to-day?
Yeah.
How are you getting involved? And for me, that's kind of, for me, right, the authentic me, right? I like to get involved. I like to help people, and yeah. But at the same time, to Leon's point, when you think about who you want to become, right, you're obviously here to grow. So at the same time, it's you can be your authentic self, but understand, right, from a branding perspective and planning, you know, you have to have those conversations and understand that you can be your authentic self in certain people, but also those people who are your trusted advisors are going to tell you, you know, right, they're going to give you some examples and things you can do to work on, right, to
Yeah,
get to become
absolutely.
that person that you want to be, right? So for sure, right, Dell provides that comfort space for that access to people, to those mentors.
Absolutely. And so before we get to questions, what advice would you have for our undergrads right here today?
I'll start first. Have a plan. And what I mean by that is the first thing I was asked this was when I was an intern, and I was sitting down with my talent acquisition mentor, and at the time he was the chief talent officer. So at that point, when I didn't even kind of understand who I was meeting with, I didn't know how executive he was. So I didn't even do that. That's another thing too, do your research on people before you meet with them. That'll definitely help the conversation go a lot more smoother. But one, also have a plan, right? Leon just talked to you guys about the development plan. And I mean, that is a quarterly thing that Dell checks on company-wide, right? Is how many people have submitted development plans. And for me also, that kind of played a factor in my current career, because I had went through the finance development program. I had got to internal audit, and I said, this is where I want to be. I was used to rotating and switching roles every 6 months to a year, and I had been in audit in a year and a half. And while I was putting my head down doing, I didn't sit back and think about planning, right? Because now I have the job that I'm going to be in for a while, and that just was not a priority. So, but now that's changed, right? Because I had to do a lot of reflection. So have a plan, for sure. Think about 3-5 years out what you want to do, and bring that to the conversation.
To add on that, when I first joined the company, our mutual mentor, Terrence Orr, always told us, like, what's your story, right? So one thing that I don't think that is actually taught in college enough is the art of storytelling. So how do I articulate where I am now, where I've been, where I am now, and where I plan to go? I think that if you take the time out to start looking internally and say, hey, this is me, the thing that's going to always differentiate you from whoever around you is your story, is your background. So take the time out to learn how to express yourself, communicate who you are or whatnot. And that builds on the whole idea of what Rico was saying, is when you have a plan and then you have a story, now we can talk about how do I build relationships. Yeah. That's the second thing that people always tell you, network. But like, you have to take the time to learn what goes into relationship building. So those two things are definitely big. Learn how to tell a story and start putting together your plan. Even if you're just at a space, because everyone's in college right now, everyone's like, I don't know what I want to do in my life. That's fair. But sometimes you got to say, hey, well, in regards to this one interest, this is the plan I have for that. And I'm going to just pursue this right here until I no longer like this. Then I'm going to go to interest number 2. Like, that's like my way of navigating my interests in general.
Yeah.
I would say having a plan is important, but always realize that deviating is okay. Because when I graduated computer engineering, it was cool. It was fun. But then as I started exploring more, I found user experience. No, I'm a nice person and I like to help people. So I want to help customers, give them a better experience of our products. So I went and took my master's for user experience, and I just finished in August, but without, thank you. But without that spirit of just going for whatever is out there, just trying something new. Like, my parents did not want me to move to Massachusetts from Maryland. They didn't want me to leave a semester of school and work for NASA. They didn't want me to do those things. But I was like, I have to take the chance. So take chances when they're given to you.
I would say get out of your comfort zone when you can. For me, I'm always considered myself an introvert, so when it came to networking or recruiting, like, I was always nervous about it, but I knew I had to do it. And then so getting out of my comfort zone and just speaking to as many people as I can, and of course having that story of who I am, where I want to go, that definitely helps, because you're talking about yourself. I mean, you just have to build that connection with that person you're networking with. And so while I've been here at Dell, that's priority. Everybody tells you to network, everywhere. And so that has really helped me in being able to get out of my comfort zone, feel more comfortable with networking, and ultimately, you never know where it'll end up. You're meeting people from in a totally different area of the business, and end up learning about that. And so you never know who you might meet, and it definitely helps in building those relationships in the future.
Absolutely. Before we go to questions, I would also say to never be a potted plant in any room that you're in. Always provide input.